Jack, welcome back to Fox Sports. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Jack, I've got to say, every time you go to Motegi now after 2022, I can imagine that you must drive into that place and like the smile gets a little bit wider, because I remember speaking to you after 22 when you won there, and it was one of those ones you were like, I didn't realise I could ride a motorbike that good. Like, you were absolutely amazed with what you'd done that day, because that was quite an out-of-body experience for you. Is that one you look back and it still gives you that massive boost, because it was a pretty special race for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's it's a track I've always enjoyed. I think I started sort of my 125 campaign off here pretty much. I mean, I did Misano back in 2011, and then missed Aragon, and then sort of started full time on Grand Prix here in Motegi, and did I think it was Motegi, Australia, Malaysia, and then Valencia for the end of that season. And then every year in MotoGP, it's been a good one. We were strong here in Moto3 back in the day, and then in MotoGP, even last year being on the front row, fourth in the sprint, and then obviously getting shafted in the race when she got red flagged was a tough one, but at least not that it shouldn't have got red flagged, because it definitely needed to, but that it didn't restart was more the bad one for us. But no, a place I really enjoy, a track that sort of flows for me. It just works for my riding style, I guess. I've always been pretty competitive here, and like you say, after you've had a result like we did here in 22, it's definitely pretty special.
Yeah, I think 22, if I remember rightly, it was about 5 seconds. That was only because you'd pulled it up on the last lap because you were trying to keep your concentration going. But I did want to flick forward, and you're obviously getting to the back end of the time with KTM after these couple of years now, and you're always pretty honest with these sorts of things, so I can be pretty comfortable asking this one. It clearly started pretty well in 2023, and then it's clearly tailed off since then. It's been a difficult one this year for you. If you look back at the time with KTM, like, how do you feel about the whole thing? And is there maybe a little bit of a disappointment that it hasn't quite worked out the way you thought it was? Because I know you were super optimistic going in there, but for one reason or another, this year's just been a real hard one, hasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely has. There's no hiding that fact. I think we sort of hit the ground running, as you said, with the podiums and stuff like that. It was going pretty good, and then even to the tail end of last year, we, like I said just before about Motegi, we had a solid race going here. Crashed out of the lead in Valencia. There was a lot of positives as well towards the back end of last year, and then this year there's been no hiding the fact that I haven't gelled at all with the bike and the tyres. So I think that's definitely something we need to look at and try. We're still trying to understand these things and still trying to rectify the situation. Not only for myself, but also for the team. I mean, going forward, we've had no real updates in terms of like parts, in terms of chassis, in terms of swing arms, in terms of stuff like that, to try and rectify this issue that we're having with the vibration caused by the rear tyre. So. Things haven't worked out the way that I'd planned this year, that's for certain, and especially after the off season that we put in, and how much motivation I had going into this season. It's been the polar opposite of what I had planned and anticipated, that's for certain.
Wanted to go back to something you had said around about the time when all the silly season stuff was getting really silly. It was the stupid season, not the silly season, around June time. And just more in the context for our Aussie listeners here, when you were talking about Pedro Acosta, and you said at the time something along the lines of that you'd be pissed off if KTM was to lose him when all the rider market stuff shook out because of just how good this kid is. So for the Aussie fans to get a sense of Pedro, like, how good could this kid be? Like, how high is the ceiling with him? Because you've been around in this World Championship 12, 13 years now. I mean, obviously you came in after Mark came in, who was sort of, Pedro before Pedro was. How good do you reckon this kid is? Because we've already seen glimpses of it this year. You've got a front row seat for it. What's he doing that makes him so good?
Oh, he's got a fantastic riding style. I think there's no hiding that fact. I think he's able to, adapt and use his body to help compensate for the motorcycle, and make the, let's say, motorcycle do some things that it isn't designed to. But in saying that, I mean, as we saw with Mark's downfall with Honda, I mean, if their head's not in the right place in terms of developing a bike and so on, we've seen that story far too many times, where you can override a bike to a certain degree, but sooner or later it'll come out in the wash, as we saw with the whole Honda Marquez situation. So I think the ceiling's as high as Pedro wants it to be. But in saying that, it's not 2013 when Mark came in anymore, 2014 when Mark came, 2013 it was, when Mark came in. It's 20 going on 2025, and there isn't just a Lorenzo and a Rossi to sort of battle with Pedrosa on his day. It's from first to 20th, it's stacked. So we'll wait and see how high the ceiling is for him. But obviously, it's different eras now, I think. And as we've seen this year with all the armchair critics before the season come on about Mark, he's going to win every race going to the end of the year, and that hasn't worked out how they all thought. I mean, they all dismissed Pecco and Martin and those boys and how good they are riding, because there's no feat like, for example, what Pecco did to Mark in Jerez was outmarking Mark at his own track.
Yeah.
So I think the level of competition is stupidly high at the moment, and we'll have to wait and see if they can turn the package around.
Yeah, it's an awesome time to be a fan at the moment because the depth is so strong, as you mentioned. But Jack, we haven't spoken to you since your deal for 25 with Pramac Yamaha came up, or Pramaha, as Renita likes to keep calling it. I keep saying that. But obviously, fantastic news for you and for the Aussie fans. And from your perspective, what can you see that's happening at Yamaha at the moment? Because the arrow seems to be pointing in the right direction now after some pretty tough times. And I guess as a second question to that, was there a time where you were genuinely concerned that you may not be on the grid in 25? Because there was a long time between Mugello and then obviously Misano when you got named there. Was it looking a bit dicey there for a while?
Oh, it was well and truly dicey. It was done in my books at one point there over the summer break. So, we'd had that sort of conversation with the family and people around, and basically said, come to Phillip Island, it's probably going to be our last one. So that was pretty shitty time to deal with, and something that we had to, not shitty to deal with, but just sort of, you had to come to terms with it. It's not on your, the biggest thing I kept saying at the time was, the thing that pissed me off most was it wasn't on my terms. I didn't get to leave on my terms, the more I thought about it, how many professional athletes do actually get to leave on their terms? Slim to none. So it's a tough thing to deal with, but I do generally feel like I've still got more to give. I still generally feel like the determination and, let's say, the work that I put in for this season, and to get up until this point bugger all out of it has been a very, very hard pill to swallow. But it's made me all the more hungry, because I know that if we can get comfortable and understand the motorcycle and try to make things work, I can almost guarantee that that'll help me to put in again another epic off season and hit the ground running hopefully in 2025 with like you say, a project like that where You know, they're trying so much, and I think they've got some great leadership involved there, and they're trying to turn things around, and to be aboard the M1, it's almost like a dream come true for me, because I went through the whole Lorenzo Rossi era, and then even with Jonas and guys like that, you know, pretty much it seemed like at one point every bloke that hopped on it, whether they were a rookie or not, were getting podiums on that thing. You know, it looked like an absolute dream to ride. And yes, it's changed in the latter years, but it's still, you know, the bones of that bike are a fantastic bike. So I believe if we can work up from that and, you know, try to hopefully bring some of our experience and ideas across, hopefully we can all start to gel together, and, you know, having that the opportunity to work again with Paolo and the team over at Pramac, you know, it's like a second home for me. So no, I'm looking forward to it. And as I said, just mega to get that opportunity, just to try and prove myself a little bit more. Not so much prove to myself, more so than prove myself. I feel like I've done that. I don't need to prove anything to anybody except for myself. I just want to do things on my own terms, and that's about it. So that's obviously the main goal, is to go over there and just try and take the best out of it for myself.
Well, Matt's asked all the spicy questions, so I'm going to come in with a fun one. The next Grand Prix, obviously you haven't even done the Japanese Grand Prix yet, but the next one, you're heading home back to the island. How excited are you to return to Phillip Island and race in front of the Aussie crowd?
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we don't get blown off the island this time around. It'll be a little bit better weather this year round, hopefully. No, I'm looking forward to it. You know, obviously not getting to turn a lap really on Sunday was pretty shitty. So looking forward to heading home and seeing the Aussie fans. And as I said, hopefully the weather puts it on for us, and we have, you know, 3 beautiful sunny days down the island. But it is Phillip Island, so we won't hold our breath. But no, I'm looking forward to getting home. Obviously, it's a nice one for us, the way that the calendars work out this year. So head home from Japan and get a week back in Oz, or just over a week back in Oz, and then, you know, quite an easy flight from Townsville down to Melbourne, and be ready to go all on this time zone. So no, I'm super excited. I'm always excited to head back to Phillip Island. You know, it's an extreme, words can't even describe. It's an extremely awesome feeling heading down there and just seeing the Aussie motorsports fans, because I think, you know, especially Aussie motorcycling fans, they are one of a kind, where they love it. You know, they do or die. And last year was awesome, just to be able to, even with the race getting canned on Sunday and whatnot, you know, it was awesome to get out there and sign some fans' autographs and stuff like that, and standing bloody on Gardner Straight there for, you know, almost a couple of hours on end there, signing and giving away pretty much everything that I had on me. But, you know, that deserved it. And no, get back and just see everyone. It's awesome to come back. So I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, that track's so much fun to ride. So looking forward to hopefully some more decent weather and riding around there in decent conditions.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, and good luck this weekend. And we will see you in a couple of weeks down at the island.
You will. Thank you very much.